if I cannot change anything within the system, can I do something outside of the system? I want to impact the system in some way or another, obviously positively. So can I do this from the outside? So what do you think it will take for change to happen?
It's not going to happen in this decade. I'm going to be very clear about this because I'm a very stat-based guy in my experience working in the ministry as well. I mean, and I've been a very critical mouthpiece with whatever that is going on.
Do you think it's ever going to change?
No, it's not going to change. It's not going to change because they want it to crash. The younger generation of doctors are frustrated. They're looking for different avenues. We're looking for different approaches. If we're not seeing this and the patients are perpetually coming in again the system, then you have the fluidity to exit. So a shout out to our sponsors today, R-Flux by Healthy Nation. So R-Flux is a supplementation that could help improve your acidity in your stomach. So one of the interesting ingredients is coral calcium. It's an organic kind of calcium. It also has like organic barley grass, certified organic wheatgrass, spinach, flaxseed, pineapples, and also spirulina. So these ingredients are suitable to reduce your acidity and improve your acidity balance in your gut. For those people who are having issues with indigestion, acid reflux, this is a suitable supplement. It's by Healthy Nation and it's available at a lot of the independent pharmacies out there. So for those who are eating a lot and having poor indigestion due to the acidity disbalance, this is something that you can try. It comes in a sachet. All you need to do, that one box has about 5 sachets like this. All you need to do, you tear it and put it into your drink and then you consume it. So for those who are having these issues, kindly go to your independent pharmacies and get R-Flux. Okay, what's up everyone? Welcome to another episode of Lesung Batu Medic Show with me, Dr. Roland Victor. And today our topic of discussion is about the future of doctors. And I have someone very interesting here from Disruptive Doctors, Dr. Selina Chiu. Thank you for coming. And this is going to be a cross podcast. It will be also televised in Disruptive Doctors. Thank you for coming to Lesung Batu today.
Hi, Dr. Roland. Thank you for having me. I think this is quite an interesting thing to be here, to be able to speak to you today.
Okay, thank you. So I'm just going to get the ball rolling straight in terms of your journey that led to Disruptive Doctors. How did it all begin and your decision to leave the public service and absolutely try something new?
Wow, it's a very, very long story. I don't know whether...
Squeeze it.
I'll try to do a TLDR. So I was a medical doctor in KKM for maybe about 10 years. My entire... I think becoming an entrepreneur was never a dream. It was never part of the plan. It was an accidental move. I always say I'm an accidental entrepreneur because my whole life, I think all I wanted to do is just become a doctor. Like a lot of us, I think back then, those generation, right? Like you yourself, I mean...
Still there, still stuck.
I don't think it's called stuck, but you know, the passion of really wanting to make a difference, right? To just change or do something, touch a life, save a life, like really make an impact somewhere.
True.
So I think back then there was no YouTube. There was no Spotify. Like you don't get stories of people impacting healthcare differently or doing things differently. So there's only one path, right? Your teacher would have told you, if you scored A in biology or you get straight A's, go be a doctor.
Correct.
So I think that's the journey I had. And my mom was a nurse, so I was exposed to the hospital life. It seemed fancy, right? Like looking from the outside, you really don't know what it's like until you're in there. So I really wanted to be a doctor. That was the only plan. I graduated from Indonesia. I came back. I did my housemanship. I did my compulsory service. By the way, guys, it's a compulsory service for a reason. So I did my compulsory service. I came back. I went to anesthesia and I thought I was going to be an intensivist. Right? I really love the art of the ICU. It's intense, but it's exciting, and understanding how the body works. And with all that drugs and all that equipment in your arsenal, you can do so much. I've seen my consultant bring patients back from the dead, and I thought, that is what I'm going to do, and that is my path. I saw myself as a superhero that could come and save anyone. And then in 2017, I had a slip disc. I was in a different hospital. Actually, throughout my whole journey being a doctor, I think there was a lot of things that were missing. I feel like we weren't really doing much for our patient. We're just putting a Band-Aid, we're just just taping them together, hoping they don't break, and then send them home, right? There was no real impact. I didn't see what we were really doing to change anything. I guess I wasn't really happy. If now I'm looking back, right, while I was practicing, I think I wasn't happy, but I couldn't form those words and thoughts. Like, you just don't know, right? You've been chasing this your whole life.
And then we end up here.
And then you're there and you're like, what am I doing? Am I really making an impact? Am I really changing anything? So in 2016, 2017, I can't remember, I had a slip disc and I was in another hospital. I worked in 3 different ICU and I saw that not a single ICU is standard. No ICU is the same. It's very, very dependent on who your consultant is. Right? So when I was there, I had a slip disc. Still love that art of medicine, but I just hated all the bullshit that came with it and I couldn't deal with it. So I asked my superior at the time, I needed light duty. I was injured. I had a slip disc. It was so bad. It was on a Saturday night after rock climbing. And the next day I was on call, but it was just too late to find anyone. I thought, never mind, just push through this, figure it out later. I was in so much pain. The moment I moved, it was painful. I think the pain score was like 8 out of 10. Right? It was so intense. I couldn't understand because it's not your typical textbook electric shock. It wasn't. It was cramps and I was shocked. I was like, what on earth is this? I didn't lift anything heavy. I didn't feel anything weird. And then, anyway, I went for my call. I was mostly bedbound. I dragged myself to see the few patients in ICU. Thank God, I was only like 5 or 6. And I was bedbound the whole time I was on call. Now, then after that, I came back. I got myself checked and all that. And then I saw I went and saw the orthopedic surgeon because I realized, like, hey, how come I'm not able to contract certain muscles in my leg? I'm not able to walk. I had to drag my leg. It was quite scary thinking about it. So I went and saw the surgeon I usually see, and he says, oh, this looks bad. You need a urgent MRI now of your spine to see what's going on. We did the MRI and saw it was severe compression in the L5. And then he referred me to a spine specialist and he said, okay, you need to admit, we need to give you all these anti-inflammatories just to make sure it doesn't compress anything any worse. And if it does get worse, probably surgery. You know what was the worst thing I think during this whole process when I told my superior, hey, I've got this thing going on. It's really bad. The only thing, and I still had calls the following week and days. The only thing she told me was, no one wants to take your call. She's expecting me
to do it,
to come back to work, to take all those calls, even though I'm injured. So I thought that was really one of those points I thought, hey, what is really going on, right? And I told her, I'm sorry, I'm getting myself admitted. I'm going to take care of myself. I'm going to get better first. You figure it out. And so I just decided I'm going to get admitted. You figure out. And then after that, I had to be on MC because I was in a lot of pain and I needed to recuperate, right? And then when I came back, I asked for light duty because I just want to get better. And then I will come back and do my work. All I'm asking is some compassion, help me recover. I was only asking for 3 months of light duty. With that request, my boss just said, I don't think you have a future anymore in anesthesia. Maybe it's time to leave. I thought, okay, I'm so angry. I'm so sick of this. I've spent 8 years, blood, sweat, tears, even throughout my medical training. I think I was very committed. I want to be the best, like the best doctor out there, right? And, learning never ends, right? Even after you come out and work, you feel like you don't know what's happening. You still don't know so much. And the more you learn, the more you realize, oh my God, I don't know, what am I doing, right? Like, there's so much more I need to read, right? So, yeah, I thought I was so angry because I was giving in so much. And that was what I got in return. So, anyway, fast forward, I requested to get transferred out because I thought, hey, let me just take a break. I never taken a break, right? From school, you go straight into your pre-U, you go into med school, you work, like there's no break. And I was in medical school in Indonesia. Indonesia, your clinical years, you are working like a houseman and studying. So basically, sometimes like 120 hours in the hospital every week.
Wow, that's a lot.
Yeah. So there are days like that, weeks like that. So I never really got a break. So I thought, you know what? Let me just take a break. You guys think I don't have a future here? Some of you, I mean, a lot of people will say, yeah, maybe you could have applied for a different hospital and all that. Think about it, Roland. Which hospital wants to take in
It's the same problem.
a doctor who says, I'm coming in with light duty first, right? No one wants to hire a doctor that is physically incapable of doing the work 100%.
At the wards.
At the wards.
And the wards are like technically like a hell home.
Correct. Some wards you just don't want to go in because it's a war zone at certain hours,
Exactly.
right?
Exactly.
Yeah. So I requested for a transfer. I got to the medical research facility. So now there at a medical research facility, a whole different
Level now, right? That's
yeah,
pretty
it's
different.
a different story because I came from a place where I was treating humans. I was keeping them alive. I was intubating. You crash here, Roland, I can save you, right? I know what to do. And here I am at the medical research, nobody to really guide you. And I have to keep all the cells alive in the petri dish. And they die every single day. Like, I can't even keep cells alive. Then you start to think, like, what am I really doing, right? And then...
And is there any training when you were at the clinical?
So I tried to tag along. But actually, research is huge. If I were to go back to research now, like I know what I would love, I would have interest in, and what I could possibly get into. Right, but back then it was like a very quick transition. There was no one to really guide you. So I got into this department. It was on NPC, nasopharyngeal carcinoma.
Okay.
I had zero interest in it. I just thought, what is this? This is so boring. It didn't call out to me, and I tried tagging along. I was terrible at research, I was helping this one researcher out. I was so clumsy. I basically wrecked the whole experiment, like the sample, like we were trying to extract antibodies. Instead of extracting it into the test tube, it fell all on the bench. And I could see he was really annoyed with me, right? Because I didn't have that bench skill. I didn't have so many skills, and there was no bridging. So I was really lost. And then I got into, they were forming a new department. It was called the Biobank. Biobank. I thought the concept was great. But until I got there, I realized, as with all things, it's a checkbox. You just check
Stick
the
it.
box. But whether there's an impact or not, whether you actually achieve the impact, it's, right? So I felt like, what's really going on? And because I couldn't adapt. I didn't know what was going on, and I'm quite vocal. I like to say, hey, we're doing this. It's not creating any impact. Why don't we do this instead? And obviously, my boss didn't like it. Sometimes I was relegated to just being a runner, collect sample, pick up an ice box, go to the OT, sit for hours, wait for a small sample, run back with the ice box.
And this was where, in the hospital or
when I was in the medical research.
Okay, this was in KL lah, IMR lah.
Correct. So can you imagine? I'm so highly trained. I've got years of experience. I can handle difficult intubation, and now I'm relegated to being a runner. Can you imagine how much of wastage of talent that was? You've trained me so much, and then you put me in this kind of position where a Grab driver can do it. I'm not demeaning any Grab driver, but you do not need a skilled person to do this. Correct.
True.
So it's a waste of talent. And I saw there were so many talents that were coming. I mean, see, life happens. Everything is dynamic. You will, today this could be your priority. Tomorrow your priority would have to change depending on what happens.
The circumstances, right?
Correct. So, and when that changes, you're going to have to change things up. And maybe you cannot, like me, I couldn't continue on that path, right? It's not, I mean, there's so many things. Like, I can't say what could have happened if I did things differently. But where we are right now, so there are a lot of other doctors that life happens to them, circumstances change, and they will have to choose some other path, right? So there were a lot that were coming here. They were actually brilliant people. We didn't know how to use this talent, and some of them go into depression. Some of them just felt useless being there. But now, if I'm looking back, what we were supposed to build, I mean, by the way, it shut down, but what we were supposed to build was supposed to really change how research was going to be done. Right?
Malaysia.
Correct, because you will actually shorten the research time, the period it takes. Because when you want to do research, medical research, you have to collect samples. So imagine if there was a bank of tissue that had every single sample you need. you can shorten a 2-year research to maybe a couple of months. You save money. So that was the concept, right? So yeah, so there was a lot of things that could have been done. Mark your calendar for Disruptive Doctors annual conference and exhibition. It's happening the 20th and 21st of September. This conference isn't about fitting into label. It's about expanding what is possible in healthcare and reimagining the doctor's role in it. This is where forward-thinking doctors come together to drive real change in healthcare. For those who refuse to settle, this flagship event brings together doctors from diverse backgrounds to explore fresh approaches, share ideas, and connect with a community of doctors to impact healthcare differently. Remember to get your tickets on our website at disruptive-doctors.com/conference 2025. If there was someone who knew how to show us that vision or showed me that vision, maybe I would not have started Disruptive Doctors, you know? I would have seen that as a huge vision, like, okay, let me build this together with you. But nobody showed us that. There wasn't all that. I guess there was the mindset. Maybe it was not the right mind. Like even for me, like now where I am now, like I've learned so much from the industry, from the outside world. If I were to go back, I can change a lot of things, right? But if I was there back then
And still there.
I don't think it would have done much impact.
So when with that point you said, you know what, this is over, like I've got to look at something really different. I'm going to carry it on my own and go independent. Was it like 2017, 18?
So, okay, like I said, right, when I was in research, I wasn't really doing much. A lot of free time because, you know, they didn't like I was questioning stuff, and also I didn't know how to contribute because it was so new to me, right? So I started looking out at other things, and I picked up other skills, building a website, creating courses online. I was looking at all of this stuff. Like I was like, hey, there's something here that I could
mix and match.
Yeah, I could mix and match and build. And the point when I realized that, I started like small events, like just gathering doctors around to like share their experience, those that have done things differently. I mean, okay, I'm going to rewind a little bit. How I started this small project was I had a friend who was in anesthesia with me. We were quite close because we did housemanship together, and then we went to did AMO-shape, which continued in anesthesia while I did my district posting. And when I transferred back to KL, I told her, hey, come to this hospital that I'm in because it's new and there's a lot of space. Like, why don't you just come and join me here since you want to come back to KL? So she came back. Yeah, she got into that hospital, but she could not get into anesthesia department. So they chucked her in like medical. Okay, so the thing is, she's been trained in anesthesia and ICU for like 4 or 5 years. So when she got into medical care, medical internal medicine, I think she had to adapt again. But her superiors were also not very helpful. They were bullying her. They were making fun of her. They were teasing her. It got so bad that she became depressed and suicidal, and she had to leave. She went to another research facility. So that's when I met up with her again. And she told me all these things that happened. I was like, oh my God, I feel so sorry she had to go through that. And I didn't know about that. I did feel partially responsible because I told her, hey, come here. I didn't know it was going to end up like that. And then after that, I met up with her again, and she said, you know, Selina, I don't think there's a future for me here in research because I don't know what I'm doing. I need to get back to clinical medicine. And I asked her, is that, like, what do you want to do when you're there? I don't know. I just going to be an MO. I don't know what else to do, but I don't feel purposeful here in research. Right. So she went back. I never heard from her. I don't know what she's doing. So that got me thinking, like, oh my God, there are going to be so many of people like her, like me. Is there something I can do? So that's when I started to look around and saw, hey, in UK people are doing it. Why can't we do it here? So that's how it started. It was started with a small project, and I saw it actually grew. Like, doctors were coming to see what are their options beyond medicine. But that was only the start. So I was doing that on the side. That's also when I met Dr. Vivek, my co-founder. And we were just doing it on the side. It was 2020, and there was the lockdown, so everything was online. We were slowly building it. And I was still working for the medical research at that time. The point when I decided that this is enough, it's time to leave, was, like I told you, I felt that when we started to build this biobank, I was like, hey, it seems like a good idea. I didn't know how big the vision was, but I thought it was a good idea, really shortening research time and all that. I was like, and you're building it from the ground. So I like building stuff from the ground. I thought that was very interesting. So I was like, okay, I want to get involved, but like I said, it was just checking a tick box. Even though whatever activity or whatever initiative that you're doing is not bringing an impact, they're just doing it because it's a checkbox you need to tick. So that's when I realized, like, I cannot continue here, because I remember having a conversation with my boss at that time. I was like, say, boss, why are we doing this? If you look at it, for instance, they want to collect breast tissue sample. That's like, everyone's doing it. It will be whatever samples you're collecting, it's like dropping a drop of water into an ocean. You're not going to shake anything up.
Yeah.
Why don't we do this other cancer? Like, I think it was prostate or something. Just like, nobody is not many people are doing it. Why don't we do this? And all he said to me was, do the work. It's been decided, just do it. And that's when I realized, like, no point. I'm not going to create any impact if I continue being there.
I think what you said is very, very true, because what we see in the system even today, when there is some form of suggestion or some query, right, the system doesn't like it, and immediately doctors or high professional people, they have always got a lot of question the thing, because sometimes we are so diagnostic. It's always like building the curiosity of pattern. We're seeing this report, we're seeing this, we're seeing, okay, what we need to do, what we need to intervene. Like every plan is not the same. Your dogma or your indoctrination of our mental process has always been like that. So when we see something wrong, exactly you do like, hey, can we pivot a bit? But then they said no. And if you question and you doubt, it's like tindakan tata tertib, or you will put in no cold storage or refrigerator, and this is happening, and it's obviously creating a lot of frustration. We're seeing it day by day in the system, and you're experiencing something like this like 5-6 years ago, and nothing has changed.
Yeah, exactly. So, like you said, cold storage, I think that was exactly what happened to me. Like, you're just a person who's asking too much question or trying to shake things up. So that's when I thought, hey, I really want to do something. Like, you all became doctors, like I said, right? To do something. And all of us doctors, I think we have this characteristic trait. We're very altruistic. We want to do something and make things better. I mean, my mantra is always, hey, leave that place better than when you found it. And I realized when I was there, there's really nothing I can do, because there's so many levels above you. Can you imagine? I'll be a dinosaur by the time I can... there. Yeah, or can do anything. So I thought, okay, never mind. If I cannot change anything within the system, can I do something outside of the system? Can I do something which could eventually mold... I mean, I want to impact the system in some way or another, obviously positively. So can I do this from the outside? And that's when I had a chat with Vivek. I was like, we didn't have a plan. We were just, hey, let's start this thing. We were two doctors who just had no experience in business, no experience in entrepreneurship. We're full clinicians, like really very strong clinical background, right? With no other experience. And we're like so enthusiastic. It's like, yeah, we can do this. Let's just jump in and do it. And 4 years later, we realized, whoa, entrepreneurship is so tough, right? Yeah. So that's when we decided, okay, I decided it's enough. I want to do something. We were going to die. One day, we are all going to die. All of us have the same end, right? So in this period that I have, what can I do that's going to leave a legacy or an impact that I can change and do something, right? That I will really leave this place better than when I found it. And that was healthcare for me. And so that's when we decided, let's merge, let's get together and let's build this. We had no idea, but we formed the company and we started it. We were another name, but I cannot mention.
I know that. Let's not mention.
Yeah.
Let's stick to disruptive doctors.
Yeah, so that's when we started. Yeah, Vivek and I, we merged it. We're like, hey, come on, let's do this. I think we can do this. We were so naive. We jumped and I thought, okay, in like maybe few months out, like maybe 2 months out, we can all make money. Then 4 years later, you realize that it's not that easy.
I think I kind of like reflected on the days when you were in that transition, since we knew each other quite a decent amount of time through friends. And I used to get some calls from you, like, Roland, what do you do? Should I do this? Because like probably like I was like one of the few friends who like, okay, we started a practice, but it was technically like a reverse engineered kind of practice. Everything that was done like in a GP physician, we did the reverse. We were on social platforms. We were in a different position of functional medicine, looking into wellness, but because most of them are still very 100% core allopathic based, right? So yeah, I do remember those days. And And I also share the aspiration of being in clinical practice in the setting in the hospital, and then being sent out into administration. So it was technically a whole different world of being in administration, and I feel that this term of don't rock the boat, I've got like 2 more years to retire. Like, what do you want me to change, Roland? I'm not going to change it. And that frustration also brewed as like, look, can't change the system in. The only way out, the way is out, and do it on your own. Build our own boats.
Do you think it's ever going to change?
No, it's not going to change. It's not going to change because they want it to crash. That's my theory. Because the system is now made to make it look limp. There's going to be, I feel, there's a large exodus of people exiting the system. Because the younger generation of doctors are frustrated. They're looking for different avenue. We're looking for different approaches. But if we're not seeing this and the patients are perpetually coming in again the system, then you have the fluidity to exit. See, it's not going to be easy maybe for someone who is having a JUSA title to exit, who's maybe a UD 54 or plus whatever UDs they got these days. I'm really unaware of their posts and their privileges. They don't want to exit, but at the same time, they are already high and mighty up there. There's nothing they need to come down to even like pick up the slack of a MO or HO. But when the problem comes in, there's a huge vacuum moving outwards, then they will feel the problem because they got to hold the whole house on sticks.
I think it's a huge disconnect. Those that are above in the ivory tower, so they don't really know what's really going on the ground. I was transferred to one of the... when I came from Seremban, I wanted to get into this one hospital, right? Because I heard about how great this intensivist was in this ICU, and I was like, I want to study under her. I want to learn from her. I applied, and they said, full to the brim. You cannot get in there. So I got into another hospital, and since that hospital was not open yet, I told my boss, hey, let me attach in this hospital first. When you're ready, I'll come back. And when I got there, I realized they were skeletal crew. They were barely surviving. They were trying to second doctors from other hospitals, MOs from other hospitals bringing in. And I asked, like, I thought y'all were full to the brim. What nonsense is this? We were never full to the brim. We've been like running on skeletal crew for the last few months. We've been asking for help. And that's when I realized those guys who are sitting in the office and behind the desk, writing on the names and lists and all that, they don't know what's going on the ground.
Yeah, the same thing. I always tell people, go back to history. These people, like the Hitler's generals, they thought they were winning the war. They were not winning the war. Okay, thank you so much for watching Lesung Batu. Stay tuned. We will be right back after this short commercial break. A shout out to 12580. This is a health magazine. So from now on, Lesung Batu is also available in print. So if you want to read the highlights of this episode, you could go to one.com and watch via QR code or even read the whole article out there. Go check out 120.com.
So what do you think it will take for change to happen?
It's not going to happen in this decade. I'm going to be very clear about this because I'm a very stat-based guy in my experience working in the ministry as well. I mean, and I've been a very critical mouthpiece with whatever that is going on. What's likely going to happen is, of course, you're going to have a lot of younger doctors coming into the system. It's going to be a two-pronged situation. The system is designed to be like a chain lock on your feet. That means if you get a master's qualification in the system now, you're tied down to a local university. We had the issue of the Royal College of Surgeons issue. That's all the shadow of this. So when you get a master's in the local system, you got no place to live. You're not going to be recognized in Singapore, nor Thailand, Indonesia. What more if in Europe or America, your master's is not recognized. So you're going to be in a Maitam Jago Kampung. You're going to be, instead, I'll lock you down. For those who maybe have done like MRCP and for PAIDS or MRCOG and all, okay, there's probably an avenue to exit. If you really think the grass is greener on the other side, you can, if not like in terms of locally, but internationally. Because you must to understand to say, are you going to be a local player or an international player or just again Jago Kampung? That's one big problem. For those who are planning to exit, they feel, I'm done with the 2 years. I've been grilled, bullied, because of the frustrative system. You don't have enough of people. And the big thing is, it's not about how much of doctors we churn. How many sick people do we churn? That is the biggest problem to address. Because if you're having an increase of sick people going to the system, Now you cannot blame the doctors and also the JPA or the Jabatan because the country can only survive with this much of budget for healthcare. You cannot just go next year's budget and say, I want 100 billion ringgit for healthcare. You won't get because there's not enough money to move around. You've got defense, you've got education, you've got a lot of other things to capture. So with whatever expenditure we got, we only can employ this much. So we got to understand the whole supply chain. The supply chain is now to see whether we can create some form of stock management for younger people, younger generation. We know we have an aging population. We have a younger generation coming in. We need to make sure that they don't get sick. For those people who already passed the gate, okay, fine, we need to think about having some form of care and sustaining that. But for the younger generation, we need to look into some form of preventive thing. At least you can sustain. Because you cannot just go and open more hospitals. You just cannot go and have more doctors because they don't want to be. It's not like a military service to be in medicine. It's a choice. I want to leave. I will go to private care. Yes, if there's a lot of people going to private care, that will also open a window for them to look into a national financing services. No choice. We only can provide healthcare to a certain bracket. For those who still want to go to the government service, you pay the premium price, standard price that is available at private, and that will create another vacuum. So there will be like problem on problems unless then you start fixing this in a 10-year, 20-year thing. But unfortunately, we never had that vision. But I want to look at a bit retrospectively. We've been like at least 4 decades in this country at least.
You're showing my age.
She's damn younger. So we've seen so many health ministers come and go. From my school age, I used to look at
No,
that.
not just that. Like Disruptive Doctors, we ran 4 conferences. This is going to be the 4th year. So the last 3 years, we actually tried inviting the Minister of Health. We had to go through 3 different ministers.
Okay, to get to one minister.
Yes, just to get to one. Finally, we managed to reach to one. So I understand that, like the change of ministers.
True. And we had a lot of change in the past 5 years because of political changes. I'm going to look like times where in the East, we didn't have many clinic kesihatan. But we had a decent amount of GPs around our housing estates. At least there was one. And it was not that pricey today if you compare the time you would spend in a clinic kesihatan. So you spend 1 ringgit in a clinic kesihatan, but you spend 5 hours there. So if I were to get therapy there, what is the value chain? Wasted my time. 5 hours. Whole day affair. If someone could earn like 500 ringgit in let's say a mechanic, probably get some 2 or 3 cars, he probably would have fixed, changed the lights and this and that, or change engine oil or something. Probably would have earned maybe about 600 or 700 ringgit. But imagine if his mindset was like, I'll go pay 1 ringgit 5 hours. What's the value chain? 0. Negative value chain. But if he went to a GP and paid like 70 ringgit for something, 15 minutes or 20 minutes done, out, back to work.
But I don't think that's the situation now. Like, even if you go to a private GP now, could be 2 hours of wait.
Really?
So I guess the disease burden is increasing.
Yes, it's increasing. So throwing back the question, for me, I think it's not gonna be like one stop fit all. I think we don't have a long-term planning because there's so much of transition of ministers. But the clinic kesihatan these days. But I think there's one point when there's Minister Dr. Choi Solek. At his time, he as a physician saw the need of ramping up more and more KKs all around the country. During his term, I cannot say that there was many more rollouts of him. During his time, Dr. Chua Jumeng, all of these guys, they were pioneering those kind of things, getting more accessibility towards healthcare in especially the rural areas. We saw these district hospitals increase, we saw the KKs increase and thing. And then I think by the time when I was coming in as a fresh, I could see, okay, there's a lot of KKs, even though in the city and Selangor and stuff. So that was a good thing. But today, we're not having that much of new hospitals, with in fact of more budgets. We're only having more sick people. Coming back to another question, for me, as I know, like I always seen disruptive doctors as an avenue for young doctors who feel that maybe they feel that clinical care might not be their fit their taste buds, or they are more curious. They want to be entrepreneurs. We're looking at AI. We're looking at digital healthcare. We're looking at different things and avenues where they can go. Maybe research was not your cup of tea, but maybe to another they are interested to go into research. How have you all journeyed in the past 4 years and helped younger doctors who only at their bare space had another registrar to talk to, or their own nasty specialist to talk to, or maybe have a chit chat with their HR or their unit counseling. These are the people who you get to talk, because they never get to talk to people outside, because you're boiled down to a lot of work, and your 7 peers is most likely the ones you can play Monopoly with.
No, I agree. Because if I'm going to look back, there was really nobody for me to speak to. I had one colleague who had a bit of a gap in the outside world, and he told me, just go explore. And the moment I explored, I saw, holy shit, that's a huge ocean. Healthcare is a freaking huge ocean. And that's when I could see that, wow, clinical medicine, I'm not going to call it clinical medicine, I'm going to call it sick care. Sick care is a small dot in this big ocean of healthcare.
With a huge budget.
That's because a lot of things can be done. I think a lot of information we were fed for the public, I think we were fed a lot of information that is outdated, which research have shown a lot of changes that, like they found a lot of changes, like maybe carbohydrate is not so great for you anymore, right? But as we were growing up, half of our plates are carbohydrates, right?
Exactly.
So things are changing, but the problem is within the healthcare system, those people that are giving advice are not changing with time. So they're still spewing old advice. So there's this joke I always tell, like when I was in the clinic kesihatan, I remember I had this patient, she's like maybe 100 kilos, close to 100 kilos. And okay, obviously DM, hypertension, all of that. I'm telling her she needs to lose weight. She asked me how to lose weight, and I realized, oh my God, I don't know how to advise you. Exercise. And she said, no, I walk in the park 30 minutes every day. But every time she comes to see me, her weight is going up. Her blood sugar is also going up. HbA1c, everything is getting worse. And I keep increasing her medication also. So I don't know what to do. And I'm telling her, eat less rice. She said, oh yeah, I don't eat rice. But you know, the teh tarik is like insanely sweet. Then she said, no lah, tak lah doctor, I tak minum teh tarik manis, kurang manis. So I didn't know what to do. So I thought, okay, let me send her to a dietitian. Dietitian is 100 kilos.
Oh, okay, great. But now they have some new KPIs, the government.
Oh, really?
Yeah, they set up some new KPIs. So they have even some weight KPIs for them to achieve.
That's a good idea. So that's one side. The public, we have to keep up to date with new research and all of that, right? And then as doctors, we've been indoctrinated. For instance, this has been drilled to me from medical school, houseman, and my entire career. Diabetes cannot be cured. Can only be managed by long-term, lifetime medication. But you and I know research have shown that
it's not true.
That is not true, exactly. But are we practicing that?
Because you see, in the system, you can't. Because you just have to follow the protocol or some CPG. So when you are your own physician, you have the merit, the responsibility to help sort the patient the way that you and the patient think fit.
And the worst part is, because I actually spoke to a doctor who was trying to help the patient more holistically so that this patient can reduce the medication. But because the patient has 2 follow-ups, one is in private and then another one in government because CKD, stage 5 or something like that. So when the hospital doctor finds out that this doctor is trying to reduce the medication, she reported that doctor. The hospital doctor reported this other doctor who was trying to reduce medication. In the government, I don't think I've ever been taught how to reduce medication. We've only been taught how to increase the medication, but obviously this is maxed out, add on, maxed out, add on. But we do not look at anything else. How else can I help a patient so that the aim is to reduce medication, reduce cost? Correct?
True.
So, yeah.
But then reduce the budget. So that nobody wants.
So back to your story, how can all these doctors who are thinking about
alternative pathway,
I don't think a lot of them came with that mindset, I'm going to be a doctor and get out. A lot of them, the ones that I've spoken to a lot, those that want to be a doctor on their own accord, not by parents and society, they actually do want to be a doctor. They do want to have a path to become a specialist, to do something. But as you know, with the system, they feel that their career is limited because, hey, how many times are you going to renew my contract? After that, I cannot become a specialist. I want to be a surgeon. I want to be an intensivist. I want to be all of this. But the system does not allow me to become all that, right? So now I have to find an alternative. It's either I move out to another country, start again, and then try and get there. So for those that I think who really want that, that is the pathway and an option. I mean, I've been helping doctors. I guess I am part of the brain drain here because I've been helping doctors who want to continue to be clinicians to get jobs in Singapore as a doctor. But the problem is, if you are here and you're going to Singapore, you actually have to start from the bottom again, right? Housemanship.
You lost like 2 years.
And it's a cycle because obviously they're going to. If you don't want to, for working in Singapore as a foreign doctor, there's a few pathways. Actually, I have a podcast on that they can listen to. The thing is, when you get there, there's also that cycle. You have to try and get into a training program. So there's more chances of you getting into a training program if you were working in the hospital, and the hospital is probably as bad as taxing as ours. So, but imagine you're already MO 4 years, 5 years here. And then you're going to start all over again. So that's one of the issues that I think a lot of doctors are not willing to do. They're not willing to take that.
Maybe some of them, maybe if you're looking at a financial calculation, times 3, they would feel much appreciated going there, even though sacrificing that 24 months of service, but not compromising 24 months of knowledge in the ward. Because you got there, technically, it's going to be almost the same thing we're looking, but in terms of financial gains, that's also going to be something very lucrative for them. So I got a question on this. How often does disruptive doctors get invited to like medical schools to talk to junior doctors or even hospitals like them? Okay, where do you go after 2 years? Because it's like an alternative pathway. Because we need clinicians. We need people to be in insurance. We need people to be in research. We need innovation. We need all of this. And all of these are technically service unit. So,
what I always advise all these doctors, you should, if you've graduated with an MBBS, MD, like you're a medical graduate, go into housemanship, complete housemanship, do your compulsory service, finish it, and then you think of your options. Because you have to understand, this is a period for you to gain experience and gain knowledge, and you need to see what you want to fix in that. If you realize, I don't want healthcare, I want to be a baker, I want to open a restaurant, sure, don't waste your time. Okay? In fact, you shouldn't even have done medicine in the first place, right? But if you did medicine and you are interested in healthcare, you should get into it because you don't understand. You have to collect experience. Experience cannot be shortcut. The only shortcut you can for experience is to maybe work 18 hours every day. So you're going to see 1,000 cases by the end of the year already. And can you imagine, would you trust a doctor who has seen 1,000 MIs to treat you, a family who has MI, or you're going to see a doctor who probably handled 3 in his lifetime? Come on, right? So the key here is gain experience because I think I always share this. I always share this when I give talks to the MOs and the housemans in the hospitals, like those that are open enough to have us there.
Are they?
There are a few more now because I think they're starting to see the issues. So what I will always say is, I came across this quote by Abraham Lincoln. If I was given 6 hours to chop down trees, I will spend the first 4 hours sharpening my axe and the next 2 hours chopping down the tree. So at the point when I first came across it, it was so funny. I was like, oh my God, this is so important, but I have no idea what it means. And then I realized that you should spend a lot more hours sharpening your axe, meaning your skills. How sharp are you? What are you going to bring to the table? The skill set, your talent, all of this to make yourself valuable. Right? And then only you go out there and say, hey, give me a seat at the table. Correct? So for those doctors who may be thinking about all these other options, you need to know what the healthcare industry is. At least know what hospital looks like, what the system is, where. Because there's so much problem there. There's so much opportunity to solve something there. Yes. Right? That's the huge opportunity there. So if you never never done housemanship, you never did your compulsory, because housemanship is one thing. Compulsory is a whole different thing because you are an MO. So I did my housemanship in Seremban. I went through all the rotation. And when I was in district, I was out there and I was alone. And okay, we had colleagues, but that's when you realize like, oh my God, like who am I going to call, right? I have this issue, who am I going to call? I remember so I was working in the clinic kesihatan in the middle of nowhere. I mean, back then, now it's on Google Maps. At that time, it wasn't on Google Maps. So when I was there, I think you had bad case. A patient that came in unconscious, and the next hospital is like 1 hour and 40 minutes. The other one, 1 hour one way, 40 minutes the other way. I cannot send a patient like that, right? I mean, you learn all this, you know, like you have to secure the airway. There was nobody, there's MAs and there's me. Like, then you realize like, oh my God, I got nobody to ask. I'm reliant on myself. So then that's where you learn a lot of things. I think one thing doctors need to understand is that when you go through all this training, it's not about reporting stuff. It's about training your critical thinking. It's about putting to practice all the theory that you actually learn. The problem is in our training, we were not taught that. Right? We were trained to stay under the radar, just do the work I'm telling you.
Don't question, don't ask too many questions in the rounds.
Here's a list of things, just do it. Don't ask why.
Wait to be off tag.
Off tag, correct. Just stay out of trouble, get your logbook signed. After you get your logbook signed, do you actually really know what you've done? Right? So the thing is, the specialists, the seniors, I think they never had that experience where someone is teaching you this is how you think. Not everyone, because when you start training, you cannot control quality, right? So they don't understand. They're in that position where they are supposed to teach the juniors how to think, building your second line of leaders. That's the key role that they are doing.
You're right. You must understand, your MO is just like 1 year superior than you. And with no leadership knowledge, with no experience, for example.
That's where the specialists were supposed to be training all this. But the specialists were not taught. They are leaders there, and they are supposed to train second layers of leaders. So that is that's what I can see as a missing link, because I've gone out. The moment I left that whole situation, I realized, wow, there's so much that's missing there. Right? I had mentors in every aspect of my life, running a business now, doing this. There's so many people that is helping to build me up. But when I was in practice, I felt, okay, I had my peers, not to help build me up, but like really I had great peers that had my back, but we were equally blind, right? All of us were blind.
And there were also peers that who were just waiting to look good.
Yes.
That was another problem.
Yeah. So that's what I think is really missing. If you build second layer of leaders, your job will be so much easier. But nobody wants to take that time to train. Like, I'm learning now because I'm running a business. I realize if everything is reliant on me, I will be killed with this pressure that's mounting on me. But if I train the next person below me to think like me, to know how to make decisions like me, like she can be me in the future. So that's what you want. I mean, I think specialists also probably, like what I'm seeing in the market is like, no, this is mine. You guys cannot step in here, and I don't want you guys to come in here, right? That's what you see in especially in the private sector right now.
Yeah, because they're the breed of the same system. That means there's no poly medicine. There's no discussion. It's like, oh, if this is the case, I'm going to give him this therapy and this is it. I cannot think out of the box. A rheumato would not refer to an endo. Endo would not think. But if it's in private, like, I can refer you. There goes another bill. There goes another bill. And then the patient will be like, why are you billing me with 3 or 4 specialists for me to go and consult for one issue? You should be able to sort it. But the insurance system and all that. Okay, I got 2 more questions to ask before we wrap up. In store for Disruptive Doctors this year?
Very exciting because, okay, Disruptive Doctors is a platform to help doctors impact healthcare differently, right? When I was in practice, I felt, like you said, you only have that 7 people around you who doesn't know what's out there. Right? And it's so difficult. We're trying to build this. We have an app that's out now in April.
Okay, great.
So
it's called Disruptive Doctors?
Yes, it's a Disruptive Doctors app. So you'll be sure to download it. So what we have in this app is that you can connect, collaborate, share with doctors, not just in Malaysia, but across the globe. And then you will start to see people think differently. And there are so many things you can adopt and adapt to, right? So because the world is going to be the world's going to be global, borderless. It is already borderless, right? So you have to learn to adapt. So while I was going through this whole journey, right, like from leaving medicine to where I am today, I didn't do it alone. I had a lot of people help me along the way. I learned from so many people. And And a lot of them are not just in Malaysia. They're doctors outside of Malaysia. There are doctors who are not in the sick care industry. So it's gathering all the experience from another person that helped build me to where I am, and being able to see what were the gaps. Like, okay, when I was still practicing, I think all the problems will be staring you in the face, but you don't know it's a problem. Because there's this quote my consultant liked to say, the eye can only see what the mind knows, or the brain knows.
Yes.
Right? So even though you have a patient there in front of you and all the red flags are, all the symptom sign, everything is blaring, if you don't know it, you cannot see it. Correct?
True.
So I think since, like what you said, we only have that 7 people who never saw the world, never interacted with people outside their circle, only know that, and they'll give you all that bad advice. So we're building
And
this
then you
app.
structured your whole thought process around that.
Correct. And it becomes a small box, and it gets harder and harder for you to break out. So the app is supposed to will help you connect with doctors across the globe. So you can connect, collaborate, share experience. You can even ask like, hey, how did you make this happen? How did you build this? I recently spoke to a doctor who he's a GP, but he's got like 5 or 6 medical patents under him.
Oh, nice.
And it's all because he was a GP. He saw patients who did not want surgery, didn't want to go and see specialists, or that, and they said, "You're my GP. Tell me how to solve this issue." So he's like, "Okay, I got to solve this." Right? He managed to create this device that helped anal fissures.
Oh, okay.
Right? So I was very impressed. So I would not have known this. This guy is like in Kedah. Right? And how did he connect with me? He found me. He heard about us. He reached out like through multiple connections, and he found me. So with this app, you can just connect with all these people. If you're an inventor, you're an innovator, you want to figure out ways to help your patient like solve their issue, that's where you go. Like, for instance, Roland, if you're on the app, you're going to be on the app.
Definitely.
Yeah, so if somebody wants to speak to you like, "Hey, Roland, I've got this patient who does not want all the pills and all the traditional, all the conventional medication, what to do? I've got diabetes, I want to reverse it. What do I do?" Right? So that's what the app does. And apart from all that connection, I think what a lot of doctors are struggling is making money. So we've got gig opportunities where you can give your services. For instance, maybe you want to be a speaker, you want to give a talk, you want to train other doctors, you want to teach, because there are a lot of doctors who have so much knowledge somewhere out there in the world who want to teach, right? But they are struggling to find that crowd who actually wants what they want.
To hear them.
Right? So there's all of that. And if you want to make money by teaching, you can also get on the app and start selling your courses. If you want to learn more beyond what you actually know in this space, we're going to have a lot of things happening.
And how about those who are also looking for job opportunities? They're like sort of like a job seeking opportunity.
Yeah. Because there are a lot of companies, and especially wellness companies, they're looking for doctors. So practice medicine differently, right? Those that are into wellness, aesthetic and all that. A lot of companies have approached us. So we have a lot of those kind of opportunities there. And then you get to, apart from that, there are all the gigs as well. There's trainings, there's courses, workshops. Even for specialists, we've built a specialist referral hub. So GPs can refer to specialists and they can also make money through that. So what we really want in this whole app is a whole ecosystem for doctors to interact with, a safe space, right? Because if I were to go to any other platforms, like you have everyone there, right? And
It'll
then
be a Shopee.
Correct. And then you have to start searching, and you don't even know who is there, where they are, where they hang out. At least you come to this app, Disruptive Doctor, you are there with your peers, you can connect. You don't have to pretend. When I first started venturing out, a lot of people are asking, "You're a doctor, why are you leaving?"
Yeah, we always get that.
So you be like, I just want to connect to somebody who can meet me where I am right now. Yeah.
Okay, that's
Another
good.
thing that's happening, conference.
Yeah. Please tell us about the conference.
Disruptive Doctors Conference is where doctors impact healthcare differently. This is where doctors make real change in healthcare. So this conference is meant for doctors and also healthcare professionals if they're interested to come. So every year we run this. This is the 4th year we are running, where we have like-minded, forward-thinking doctors that are coming there. It's not going to be your traditional, conventional scientific conference where you just listen to people talk. But here you are really going to make connections with people who are doing things differently. So we have one track that's on diverse careers in healthcare and leadership in healthcare for doctors. So doctors who are thinking of being leaders, doctors who are thinking of an alternative career or non-traditional career, like in healthcare management, in pharmaceutical, insurance, or humanitarian medicine, diving medicine. Like, we have all these topics lined up. We have a GP symposium. So it's not going to be a regular GP symposium. The symposium is going to be topics on how we can help GPs run sustainable clinics. Because, the competition now, right, is intense. So they don't need more of how to deal with DM, but how can I make my clinic stand out? How can I run this clinic without drowning? How can I make ends meet? How can I market the clinic without getting into trouble? So we're doing all of this to help GPs sustain, because I think GPs, primary care, they are the backbone of the country. So if they are all collapsing, we're all going to collapse together.
And it's going to be, is there a link toward it?
Yes, I'll share the link.
Okay, so we'll put the link down so that you can go and click to you doctors out there.
So then the second day we have something on AI tech and innovation in healthcare. I think doctors are very scared of technology and we don't really know what's happening out there, right? We always wait for our superiors or our seniors or organization to tell us this is okay or this is not okay. But you should start going and see what is the frontier of medicine or what's the frontier of technology in healthcare, because that will really change your worldview. I mean, it changed my worldview on how medicine could or healthcare could really be practiced differently. Yeah, and then we have longevity medicine. How doctors who, like yourself, don't want to give medication or pill popping or lifelong medication. I was told to get on lifelong medication because I was diagnosed with Graves like a couple of years ago, and I did things differently, right? Also, like I mentioned, the doctor who invented this device to help for anal fissure, so you do not have to do surgery. There are all these ways of practicing medicine. It's so exciting, like you can do things better for your patients. So we're going to do that, because one of the things I think for longevity medicine, we need to have this is because there's too many fake news out there, not backed by science. People who are just, fun fact, right? There was a lady who is teaching women on hormonal health. And I checked her background.
I saw that.
She's an accountant.
I saw that. And I think there's a lot of this kind of series are coming down from people who are not in practice. Probably they're giving some form of simple, basic advice.
We actually don't know.
No, we don't know. We yet to study and find out.
Yeah, so patients are already doing this, and soon, and doctors are so left behind. We don't know, we are so afraid to see what is possible, right? True. So I think this is why we're doing this longevity medicine, really to bring science back to the power back to the doctors, to show them, hey, there are all of this, I know, like supplementation, peptides, all of this, we're so scared to touch it, right? And stem cell, that is like already coming, and it's so exciting. You can treat patients differently. You can practice medicine differently. Because when I was practicing, I felt I wasn't
limited.
Doing much.
You feel limited. And I think that's something that until today, because we see certain regulations are so uptight. And when we see our peers in other countries, they are able to do so many things. And sometimes it also creates a thing like, why am I stuck here? I look like a whale in a small pond. Doing the things because of the system limits the practitioner towards a better care, better option towards our patients. Okay, so we're going to wrap up. Thank you so much for coming today. I think you will be definitely invited again before we have all the conference coming up. Maybe another round of shout out towards doctors out there. Until we meet again, kita lesung kau.
Join disruptive doctors. Oh, disruptive doctors. Impact.